I absolutely love gadgets, from iPhones to wireless speakers to fitness trackers. But when it comes to riding my bike, I like to keep it fairly simple and go almost acoustic almost all the time. But one thing I do take advantage of is GPS. But why is it so good for mountain bikers? You can find GPS functions on most new mobile phones and bike computers, so hopefully these tips can help you out. In this case, I'm using Garmin devices as they are a partner here at GMBN. You can find GPS in loads of day-to-day items nowadays, from your mobile phone to your car, of course. The emergency services use it to pinpoint exactly where you are. Google Earth, of course, for mapping facilities. But why is a global positioning system useful for a mountain biker? At any moment in time, your computer is connected to at least 3 satellites that triangulate your exact position. Now, these GPS units have become much more affordable in the last 10-15 years, meaning that it's really easy to get a computer or a watch that does all this stuff for you to give you super accurate data that you can use. You don't have to go too far back to find those original bike computers. Do you remember the ones where you stuck it on your handlebar and you probably had a wire that went down your fork leg and then a magnet going around your wheel, although you could get wireless ones, and they gave you really basic information like speed, distance, how long you've been riding, possibly average speed. So super simple stuff for tracking your ride. But the way that GPS does this means you don't have to calibrate your wheel size anymore. Just the position of this computer will give you an awful lot of information and is super useful. The first big difference from the old school computers is that now you know exactly where you are at any time. You can plan routes online or really look at the mapping on your computer, so you can follow a big long route and really not get lost. So here at GMBN, we use our partner brand Komoot to plan those rides on the software, send it over to our Garmin computer, and away you go. All you do is follow that turn-by-turn navigation. So there's no getting lost in a field anymore, getting your old OS map out in the rain and trying to work out where you are. Although there is still a bit of fun in doing that, these things make riding for big days out or even big days in a row super, super easy. Now, I know there'll be some people screaming at the computer or the TV now saying, I hate all this gadgets and all these data things that I don't need for a bike ride. And I get you, I don't always take my GPS out with me. I do like to go old school sometimes and just go for a ride. But I have done that with a computer before, gone for a big old ride, decided I'm really tired, and then just hit the get me home button and it will find a nice easy route for getting me back without completely bonking or losing the will to live. So there is a time and a place for a computer for most riders. And one of the biggest advantages for mountain bikers of knowing exactly where you are, other than route finding, is now the ability to take part in imaginary races. So things like Strava, or even racing yourself on a section that you've set on your computer, means that people can turn a normal ride into something that's a bit of a challenge. So I know millions of people love Strava for putting in a section and racing everyone who rides it down there, and it is brilliant. It can really turn a casual ride into something where you really push yourself, and I definitely do it as well. But also you can use it for training. So often I'll sort of know my nearest hill, and in the springtime when I'm really trying to get fit, I'll try and beat my own times up that hill. So knowing exactly where you are on this planet can have other benefits as well as route finding. Now there's varying degrees of nerdiness for how much you want to get into these sort of location data-based apps like Strava or using the route finding apps. For some people, Strava is the be-all and end-all of every ride they go on. For me, it's not. I do occasionally look for a bit of sort of personal satisfaction if I can beat someone else's time, but rarely, to be honest. I'm more into getting nerdy on things like Google Maps and on Komoot in winter for trying to find new places to ride, or plan those big epic rides, which we've done a bit of recently. Me and Blake went on the Ridgeway, all planned out by himself on Komoot. So I really do get into doing that. And however much you're into these things will determine the sort of the GPS device you go for. How many features do you need or you think you'll want to use? Most GPS units will also have the ability to add on extra bits and bobs, other gadgets, and I do use some of these for training. So something like a heart rate monitor, if I'm going for a big ride, I probably will use that. And that will connect wirelessly to my Garmin, same as a power meter. Now I have one of those on my cross-country bike. Again, I mean, I'm not probably the best person for that sort of thing. I don't go super in deep on the power numbers, but I do get a bit curious and occasionally like to see if I've upped my FTP, see if my training is working. There's other things like lights that you can wirelessly connect to your head unit so you can control your light. That's probably useful for commuters and people like that. The fully up-to-date GPS computers will probably let you add different apps to them as well, like our Garmin. So I've got Komoot on here for those, syncing my routes across. I've got something called Wikiloc. I don't know what that is. I've never used that. I've also got Trailforks and Strava routes. So super useful. Trailforks is for maybe when you're in bike parks for finding out where those trails are you want to ride. Same as Strava routes, probably better suited to road riding. But there's definitely ways of customizing your GPS unit to really make it work for what you need it for. Route finding and ride tracking are probably the two main reasons for using a GPS device on a bike, but there are some added extras as well. Something like the incident detection that you get on Garmin. So in the event of a crash, basically this will use a GPS to see if you're still moving, and also an accelerometer. So if there's a really big hit and then you stay in the same place for a while, that is probably going to trigger the incident. So you can turn this on and off, but what that will do in the case of my computer is send a message to a loved one at home. So you can turn this on and off, like I said, and even set up who it's going to send the message to. So this could be really useful and potentially save your life in a big incident. There's also a nice feature to set a bike alarm on this. So just using your head unit, set the bike alarm, and if anyone moves the bike, the computer will know and will send you a text and the bike's location. There's also a way of integrating your e-bikes into this as well, so you can see your power level, what mode you're riding in. So there's definitely a few other extra useful things when it comes to getting the right bike computer. It's fair to say that modern GPS computers for riding bikes are absolutely packed with different features. And of course you can buy different models as well, from the larger screen units that are really good for navigating, having big useful maps, to smaller ones, or even GPS watches where you have a lot of the same features but probably a smaller face on there compared to most GPS units. And I do like to keep track of the rides I've been doing. Whilst I don't get super crazy into the number crunching of power and heart rate, things like that, I do like to see the training effect that bigger rides have had. So maybe if I know I've had a long, mellow ride, it's been good for sort of building my base fitness, I know that next time it might be worth going for a shorter, faster paced ride. Also, you do see lots of mountain bikers out in the woods with, GPS units. You often hear people talking about KOMs, things like that on Strava. So they're super popular for mountain bikers. And your phone can do it. Most phones nowadays do have GPS in there, so lots of people use them for Strava. Although you might find that they're not going to be quite as accurate as the GPS you find on one of these units. And of course, you've got to ride with your phone in your pocket. Not everyone likes to do that. And I wouldn't necessarily want to put my phone on the bars for navigating, but it's worth shopping around, looking at what you need from a GPS unit to suit your style of riding. don't forget, if you're thinking about planning your own epic rides, then why not look at the GMBN Komoot profile for some inspiration. There's a lot of UK-based rides in there, but there's also Iceland, there's the Day from BC Bike Race, so hopefully they'll inspire you. And if you want to see a couple more videos where we use our Garmin devices, me and Blake, or myself and Blake, should I say, compare each other's flow and try and improve on our own flows, then click down there for that one. And for Blake, sending it on A-line with a Cube Action Team up there for that one. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, that'd be great.